a look at your sheet. The first thing you have on your notes is, what is a subject pronoun? So think about that. Do you know what a subject is? And that would, what is a subject pronoun? It tells who is doing the action, and it also replaces the person's name. Okay? Who is doing the action and replaces the person's name? For example, por ejemplo, Gregorio escucha música. So we have Gregory listens to music. We can take out the name Gregory and replace it with a subject pronoun. In this case, that would be él. We also on our list have Ana canta y baila. Anna sings and dances. We could replace Anna with the subject pronoun for she, which would be ella. Okay? So subject pronouns tell who is doing the action and replace the person's name. Let's continue. We have our chart here. Excuse me. So with our chart, there's a certain way we're going to fill it in, and that is based on some very specific things about this chart. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up as a presentation so you can slowly see it come to life. Okay? We have our chart. The column on the left is going to be singular. So all three boxes that fall under that word, they're all singular. And that means the people that fall in those boxes are just, or should I say the groups of people, are made up of just one person. However, on the right, we're going to have plural. So there's going to be more than one person in those three boxes. Okay, over here on the left, the first top two boxes going across are going to be first person. Now, if you remember from English, and congratulations if you do, because I certainly would not have if I didn't teach this, first person means I'm included. I'm being talked about. Second person. Second person's for those two boxes going across, and that means you are talking to somebody. In other words, saying you or y'all. And then, of course, we have third person, which means you're talking about somebody, which would be like he, she, they, something like that, okay? So for first person singular, we have yo, which means I. First person singular. Singular, one person. First person meaning I'm being talked about. So if I'm singular, talking about I or myself, I'm going to use I. And in Spanish, I is yo. Second person singular. Like I said, one person talking about you. You informal, tú. Tú in Spanish means you. And it's the informal way of saying it, which means it is something you would say to someone you're very close with, like your friends, your peers, friends at school, your family members that you're very close with, that you don't need to be too formal with. And then we have third person, singular. We have él for he, and yes, you have to have the accent mark on there. If you don't, it changes the meaning. We have ella for she. Those double L's kind of form a Y sound from English, so it's ella. And then we have usted, which is you formal. Now I know you is technically second person, but when we do verb conjugations in a couple of weeks, you're going to use the third person singular verb ending for verbs that are for usted. So we're going to stick it down here, even though it's technically not in the right place according to the person, but it will make sense later on. So usted, which is abbreviated UD, means you, and it's the very formal way of saying you. So this would be like if you're talking to the principal or your doctor or maybe your grandparents, if you're not very close with them, maybe you only see them every once in a while. You're expected to be very formal with them. Okay? Then we have first person plural. Now we have two ways of saying we, and if you've caught on, we have we, nosotros with an O in blue, and then we have nosotras with an A in pink. Now if you were looking down here when we were in third person singular, you would notice the same thing. And if you caught on that it's for gender, very good. So nosotros with an O means we for a reference of all boys, and nosotras means we if you're referring to a group of all girls. However, if you have a group of boys and girls, regardless of how old the boys are or how many boys there are, you're always going to revert back to using nosotros with an O. So the masculine form in Spanish is kind of like the default setting for the language. If there's a girl and a boy group, we is going to become we, the masculine form with the O. Same idea for this next one. Vosotros and vosotras both mean y'all. Vosotros for a group of boys or a mixed group of boys and girls. Vosotras for a group of just women or just girls. Vosotras and vosotros, these two are typically only used in Spain and Argentina. You won't hear it as much here in this part of the country, but you will hear it, and there are teachers locally who do use it because they're from Spain or from Argentina. So you definitely need to be familiar with it for school, and you're definitely going to hear it if you travel. Personally, I did not grow up using it. My friends and close family members are Mexican and Puerto Rican, so I didn't hear it growing up. But when I lived in Spain, I did hear it, and you'll catch on pretty easily what everyone's saying, okay? But you will not hear me use it unless it is in something that I'm teaching. If it was already written down by like the textbook company, I will say it, but personally I won't use it. All right, third person plural. Ellos, ellas, both of those mean they. Same thing with the gender. And then ustedes is you all, or as we say around here, y'all. Now the reason y'all is up here and y'all is also down here, it's just the same as usted being here instead of in second person. The verb endings we're going to be using coming up, use the endings for this box, and that will make sense later on. But for right now, we're going to stick it down there and keep it there. Let's see what we have next on our sheet. Okay, a few things. Unas cosas. Tú, usted, ustedes, and vosotros all mean, anybody know? Technically, they all mean you. Of course, they mean you informal, you formal, y'all in certain parts of the country. And let me go back and point out something about this. Y'all, if you're in a place where y'all, vosotros, is being used, then this is the very informal way of saying y'all, like if you're referring to your friends. However, now this is only if you're in a place that uses vosotros. If you're in that place and you say ustedes, ustedes means y'all, but formal. Like if you're referring to like a group of your teachers. However, if you're in a place where vosotros is not used at all, which is going to be a lot of what you're going to hear around where we live, then ustedes means y'all for anybody, whether it's formal or informal. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're traveling, like if you're in Spain, you're in Argentina, you're talking to your teacher who's from one of those places, vosotros is y'all, informal. Ustedes is y'all, formal. However, if you're in a place that does not use this at all, ustedes can mean y'all for anybody. Okay? Next on your paper, use tú with family, friends, peers, and anyone you can call by their first name. Like I was saying, tú is informal, very laid back way of saying you. Usted, abbreviated UD, is used with adults that you address with a title. So Mr., Mrs., Doctor, Professor, whatever it is, teacher. If you have to be formal with them, you're going to use usted. Next one. In Latin America, ustedes is used when talking to two or more people. So like I said before, ustedes means y'all, and it is abbreviated UDS. In Spain and in other countries, vosotros or vosotras is used when speaking to two or more familiar people, and ustedes is used when speaking to two or more formal people, like what I just said. Okay? Let's look at the practice. Alejandro y ella. If I'm talking to Alejandro y ella, what subject pronoun could I use to refer to the two of them? Alejandro and ella. So Alejandro and she. If I'm talking about Alejandro and she, let's say it's Alejandro and his girlfriend, how can I refer to them? Now in English, I've just said them. Did you catch on to what them is in Spanish? It's a boy and a girl. Ellos. Ellos is the answer. It's ellos, not ellas, because there's a boy and a girl mixed. If it was two girls, it would be ellas. But there's a boy, Alejandro, and ella, which is she, which is a girl. So ellos is the correct subject pronoun. Let's try the next one. Carlos y yo. Carlos y yo. Carlos is a boy. So regardless of my gender, I'm going to say the masculine form of the subject pronoun. Carlos and I. Carlos and I. Together, when you put us together, what do we become? Carlos and I. Think about that. What do we become? Nosotros. Nosotros. Regardless of my gender, I'm going to use nosotros because Carlos is a boy. And we were referring to ourselves, like he and I. Together, put us together, it's we. Jamie or Jaime y tú. Jaime y tú. So I'm informal here, okay? I'm talking to someone I know, and I'm talking about Jamie and you. Jamie and you. If I'm talking to Jamie and you, what can I refer to you guys together as? I would say y'all, right? And we're saying it informally. We're already using tú, so the informal way of saying y'all would be ustedes. Now, that is, of course, if you're in a place where ustedes is used both formally and informally, which is 90% of the time, if not 98% of the time, what you're going to hear in this part of the world. So ustedes is correct. If we were in a place like Spain, you would use vosotros, okay? Like I said before, I didn't grow up saying that, and I would use ustedes. Marta y ella. Marta y ella. If I'm talking about Marta or Marta and she, how can I talk about them? Them, think about that. Them and their two girls, Marta and she. Them, feminine, would be ellas with an A.